Hello, and you are back in the Velvet Room with Joker the Fool. This is our 81st episode, and today we'll be discussing the discourse around the TikTok ban, anti Semitism, and the Boy Scouts of America. So, we're going to get right into this. Everyone's losing their minds over the TikTok ban, and I'm going to go and give my 2 cents about it. So, we're starting with this headline, this article from Reuters. The headline reads TikTok ByteDance sued to block U.S. Law seeking sale or ban of app. So if you live under a rock or you don't pay attention to the going-ons of the internet, there's been a law that's been signed by the Biden administration, also ushering in more funding, billions of dollars to Ukraine and Israel. Of course, that's what they do. They always try to pass things in with one thing. But anyway, to get back on track, Joe Biden, President Joe Biden, the TikTok and its Chinese parent company ByteDance sued a U.S. federal court on Tuesday, seeking to block a law signed by Joe Biden that would force the divestiture of the short video app used by 170 million Americans or ban it. So, essentially, it's by January 19th, 2025, TikTok is either going to be straight up banned from the US or it will have to be sold to a different company. So ByteDance currently owns TikTok. I think they've got some Chinese investors. I think they're mostly like Vietnamese. I don't know. But anyway, it's not American owned. They don't like that. They're citing national security concerns and China and all this stuff. But the interesting thing is that ByteDance is arguing that they have a First Amendment right, or that this law is a violation of the First Amendment. Honestly, I would agree. I would be inclined to agree with this. So I do hope that ByteDance wins this lawsuit under the grounds that this is a violation of the First Amendment, and this really stops Congress and the president from doing these sorts of shenanigans. Not that I think that TikTok is just like great net positive or this free speech platform that meaningfully informs people. It's quite the opposite. You have all this garbage, not just on TikTok, but a lot of the internet that probably would be best off if it wasn't there. But the idea that the state can come in and say, hey, TikTok can't operate like this because they're owned by the Chinese or or they're pushing content we don't like. That's what I don't like. I don't stand for it, of course. You know me, anarcho-capitalist. I'm never going to be for the government banning anything. But the idea that this can happen, setting up this precedent, is a really bad thing. And if ByteDance wins this lawsuit, then it's a precedent in a great direction, because if they want to do this stuff again, right? They want to ban all social media. They want to have this top-down control of the internet, the federal government, so they can control the information, control the narrative. And if ByteDance wins this lawsuit, it's a real big blow to their plan. So we're going to see how this unfolds and see how this keeps on going. This is definitely something to follow. It's definitely a very interesting thing. But like I said, if this gets accepted, if this gets argued, if there's discovery, it's going to be very interesting. And again, if this law does go through, it sets a bad precedent. If ByteDance wins this lawsuit on the grounds that the First Amendment is being violated by trying to enact this law, then they won't be able to do it in the future, right? And that's the big thing. Unless they amend the Constitution to get rid of the First Amendment, which that's a really hard thing to do, to pass an amendment, unless you have a lot of support, and there really isn't enough support for just about anything in this country to amend the Constitution, which honestly I would say is a good thing. But of course, there's a lot of the Constitution's amendments and current laws that could be done with getting away with, but that's getting into the weeds of things. So I want to talk about anti-Semitism, and moving on with the TikTok, or keeping in line with talking about TikTok. Romney, this headline article is from Zero Hedge, and the headline reads: Romney cites anti-Israel posts as the latest reason to ban TikTok. Right, so a lot of it is the concern that was being initially pushed, right, by the Romney types, these neocons, these uniparty people, people who are lying, cheating, and stealing just to get all the power, was that this is a Chinese spy tool, right? ByteDance is based in China, and all these kids on TikTok is giving information to the Chinese, and China is one of our greatest geopolitical foes. We have to ban TikTok, or else the Chinese are going to get us, right? But now it's to censor news coming out of Gaza and pro-Palestine content. So there is not a lot of support for Israel. There is not a lot of support for the American war regime, the American empire, the forever wars that we're fighting. The fact that a lot of people don't want to carpet bomb the Middle East indiscriminately anymore. And it's like, well, if we can ban TikTok and get more people on our content stream that says carpet bombing the Middle East is actually the best thing in the world, then that's what we want to do. So they want to ban TikTok to have control of the narrative, and of course it's anti-Semitism. There's a lot of pearl clutching on both sides of this whole thing, and of course a lot of the kids, these college kids that spend all this time on TikTok consuming this pro-Palestine content, are just as ill-informed, and their worldview is just as toxic as the people who want to carpet bomb the Middle East indiscriminately, who want to support Israel no matter what, right? I don't support it. I don't support any conflict in the Middle East, but I don't have any say in it, right? These people are going to fight and engage in this conflict with each other, and I really can't do much about it. And the best thing to do best thing for America to do would be to take a non-interventionist policy. But of course, we've discussed this before. Israel is the staging area for the American empire's operations in the Middle East. It's also got great access to the Suez Canal, so geographically it's advantageous for trade routes and all these things, that really plays into it being a staging area for the American empire's operations in the Middle East, right? And that's always been a very strategic place for empires, for geopolitics, going back to ancient times. So this really is something that the federal government's not going to let go. They're not going to let go of supporting Israel. They're not going to let go of using anti-Semitism to justify supporting Israel and engaging in more of these forever wars. And Mitt Romney is just proof of that, just saying like, well, Israel's PR is so bad, and the solution is, well, it's because of TikTok. Let's ban TikTok, right? And this is one of the reasons why I'm going to speak out so harshly against TikTok being banned, and why I want ByteDance to win this lawsuit, right? Because people like Mitt Romney will use this justification, or you will use this precedent that gets set by this law going through, if it does, to ban basically everything. And this is going to would trickle out negatively, right? They're going to not stop at TikTok. This is the beginning of them ushering in this extreme censorship. If you thought censorship was bad, you thought the collusion between big tech and the federal government was bad before, it would get even worse. And this is why I would say ByteDance definitely really ought to win this lawsuit, and that would be a great win for freedom. It would be a great win for people who don't want censorship. So that's really what I want to say, and I want to emphasize that this whole TikTok ban isn't really about TikTok. It's more or less about the fact that the federal government wants to have control of the information, right? And they have really lost the ability to control the narrative like they were in the past, when everyone had to watch the news to get informed, right? And it was well-dressed man sitting in front of a teleprompter, and the teleprompter said whatever the handlers wanted it to say, and that was what people heard, and that is where people got their information. And now the internet really blew the doors off. You can go and find information anywhere. One guy in a basement in Oklahoma can inform the entire world, and he doesn't have to have handlers. He can say whatever the hell he wants, and whatever the hell he wants can conflict with what the federal government wants you to believe, right? And that is the reason why they're doing this. They are saying this is, a national security concern. This is Chinese ownership. right? That's what they're saying, and of course, that they're being a little bit more honest. But really, what they want is to engage in this extreme censorship regime, and they're using this to get their foot in the door to build that precedent. So if we can stop it here with ByteDance winning this on the grounds of the First Amendment, it's going to set a great precedent for the federal government not being able to do this, and that is what we absolutely need. But we're going into the final topic: Boy Scouts of America. Now, fun fact about me is I was a Boy Scout. I got all the way up to Life Scout, didn't make it to Eagle Scout. A bunch of reasons for that, but anyway, I was part of a troop. I went to like sleepaway camp. It's how I know first aid. It's how I know a good bit of stuff. Basic survival skills, outdoor skills. Is I learned that in the Boy Scouts, and also you get the sense of camaraderie and friendship with being part of that close, knit group. And that's something that I like. That's something I liked. It's something I encourage, and it's something that we really need more of. But the unfortunate thing is that the Boy Scouts of America has been a dead organization to me. And I don't have an article pulled up for this, but they're going to change their name to like Scouting America or whatever, really removing the boy from Boy Scouts. So like anyone can join. Of course, the Girl Scouts will get to be the Girl Scouts. But the Boy Scouts of America has been on a downward spiral for a long time. And the initial values, or I'd say the values that the Boy Scouts was built on, when Robert Beaton Powell founded the Boy Scouts like over 114 years ago. It took like a group of boys camping on some island in Britain, and then it just spread out throughout the world. Right, it was initially scouting for boys. That was the handbook, and it evolved, over the course of the decades. And it was really more about community, outdoor skills, like the skills and socialization we need to like develop from being a boy to a well-rounded man, right? And that's really what the Boy Scouts was about. And now it's just more or less been taken over by, I don't know, the best term is the woke mind virus, but it's a dead organization. So if you have a son and you want to imbue him with outdoor skills, with first aid skills, have that close-knit group of community, you're going to have to really take that into your own hands, and that's what I would do. I would not rely on a Boy Scout troop or the Boy Scouting organization or anything like that to imbue what I really find aspirational and so great about the Boy Scouts and what made it last for a century. Well, what gave it that staying power, what drew so many people to it, are things that you can take and enact in your own or your own communities without the need for this institution of the Boy Scouts, which is a dead institution, right? And there's this name change that's going in change in February, I believe, is just really indicative of that. So the idea of relying on these legacy institutions to do the work for you, to be there, to all be this landing pad to make things better, is completely gone. Used to be there in some degree, but it's not there anymore. Like I said, it's been a while. Boy Scouts went woke. They've been doing stuff like this for a long time. It's been a dead organization for me for years at this point, and this is just more proof. This is another nail in that coffin for me. But with that, I'm going to leave it here. I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and we'll see you next week. We're going into the outro now. Thank you for being in the Velvet Room with Jokerthefool. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, whether you're listening on YouTube, Rumble, Odyssey, or Substack. And be sure to subscribe to my Substack, velvetroompublishing.substack.com, to keep up with Machine to Man and all my other projects.